All right, what's up, y'all? So we are back with another episode of Brutally Simple Cooking, and today we're doing another slow cooker pork belly. Now, I know we've shared some slow cooker pork belly recipes in the past, but we feel like we have perfected this because it is our number one favorite food. All right, we eat this at least once a week with 2 or 3 days worth of leftovers. And remember what we're trying to do with Brutally Simple Cooking. We're trying to keep it simple and easy. That includes the seasonings, that includes the cooking method. I got stuff to do during the day, so I don't have time to sit here and do something that's super complicated and takes a lot of me checking back on it, okay? So what we're gonna do is take a big slab of pork belly. You can get this from any store, all right? The better the quality, the better the nutrients and the less toxins, obviously, all right? But pork belly in general is gonna be awesome. And we're doing this in the slow cooker because the slow cooker is set it and forget it. We don't have to monitor it. I can go to work. It's about 11 o'clock right now. By the time I get home around 5 o'clock, it's gonna be perfect and done. All right, so we're gonna cut this into a few big chunks. You can do the whole thing at once if you want to, but then you still have to cut it up after you cook it. So we like having these big long strips because a long strip usually equates to one person's serving, all right? So we're gonna cut this into a few strips. And by the way, all you need for seasoning is gonna be also, pro tip, you gotta have a good knife in the kitchen. If you don't know about picking a good knife, check out our YouTube video on it. It's awesome. Anyway, the only seasonings you need today are gonna be salt, pepper, coconut sugar, and some cayenne pepper if you like a little bit of spice, all right? So we've got 3 long chunks. We have an elongated slow cooker, all right? So that we can put those long chunks in it lengthwise, and I'll show you how we do that. Now let's season this sucker, all right? So we're gonna season generously on all sides, generously because we're not gonna season it after we cook it, all right? Generously, we're gonna start with the salt. I don't know if you can see how much of that's coming out. We're talking generous here though. Generous with the pepper. All right, and then also relatively generous with the coconut sugar. You don't want it to be completely coated, but you do want a little bit of flavor. Now I know what you're thinking. The sugar's a problem, right? It's so little and a lot of it gets kind of cooked off. It's totally fine. It's worth the flavor that it gives it. I see no problem. I wear a continuous glucose monitor sometimes and I've never seen an issue from eating this stuff, all right? So that's about what it's gonna look like on each side. Now what you can do is after you season each side is kind of pat it into the meat just a little bit, and then we're gonna flip it and rotate it. If possible, you want to get it on all sides. Make use of what you can. Now, pro tip, I'm going to show you how to use a shaker or any other seasoning vessel. If you want to minimize like the mess and the seasonings and spices everywhere, you just want to do this little side to side thing as you're going up and down the piece of meat, and everything kind of stays on the meat and you're not missing a bunch of it. Very consistent. All right, again, very generous. Side to side motion here. Again, pro tip, seasoning method, side to side. Now, pro tip, as you're seasoning these, if you keep them together like that, it's like one big piece of meat. You don't have a bunch of stuff in the space, and so you're not wasting a bunch of your seasonings. See that? I almost didn't miss any of it. That one more pat down. Now we are ready to throw this in the crock pot. Now, if you haven't purchased a crock pot before, if you're in the market for another one, I love these elongated ones, especially for pork belly. All right, so now we're gonna put this in. Pro tip, always put your pork belly in fat side up. That lets the fats and juices seep down into the meat. All right, now check it out. Pro tip, you also want some space in between the pork belly so that it has a little bit of breathing room. It cooks just a little bit better, all right? Now, pro tip, we're full of pro tips today. You don't want to waste any of this seasoning, right? So we want to try to scoop this into here as much as possible. All right, now we're going to put this in the crock pot or the slow cooker, and we're going to turn this on low setting because we got about 6 or 7 hours to work with. And if I come back and I have an hour or so left and I need to, I can bump it up to high for just a little bit longer. But usually on low, 6 to 8 hours is perfect. You're looking for this thing to turn a nice golden brown on top. Erring on the side of cooking more than less. So this is one of the things that we've learned here recently, is that it's better to have the pork belly closer to overcooked than undercooked, because then it turns into a nice crispy, almost bacon-like texture. So we're gonna set it and forget it because I got stuff to do at the office, all right? Later. All right, what's up, y'all? So we are back, and this smells amazing. So it's been about 6 hours. We started at 11, it's 5 p.m., and this stuff looks absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Now, what we've learned to perfect this recipe, first of all, the seasoning is simple. It's the salt, pepper, coconut sugar, and then a little bit of cayenne if you want some spice or some heat to it. You want to be generous with the seasoning except for the cayenne. I mean, you can season that as you want to make it hot or not hot. But also, you want to err on the side of overcooking versus undercooking. So a lot of pork bellies, when you eat them at restaurants, you know, they're just perfectly cooked and they're super gooey and almost runny. And what we found is if you can almost overcook it but not quite, it turns out kind of crispy, and it's just absolutely amazing, and it's really good leftover. So what we're gonna do is we do want this to set just a little bit so it can coagulate, all right? And I'm gonna take one of these out and put it on a plate and let it cool so me and Arnica can taste it on camera. All right, so we are back, and this is just perfect. Look at the color, the doneness. You want that erring on the side closer to well done than not well done, because when it cools and coagulates, pro tip, it's worth the wait when it coagulates. Oh, no, wait. Is that what it was?
It's coagulate.
Let it coagulate. It's worth the wait. All right? So, when it coagulates and sets like this, then it's like a little bit crispy on the outside and then really juicy on the inside. So we're going to do a little taste here. Hat tip to Alan Duty for the plating technique. That's for you, babe. Might have to blow it off a little bit. It's hot. That is perfect. Let's bring it back around. I feel like this is important, and it's worth reiterating, because we've done a lot of pork bellies, slow cooker pork bellies on here, and we have perfected this. And what's perfect about it is brutally simple. Remember, slow cooker, set it and forget it. The seasoning, salt, pepper, coconut sugar, a little bit of cayenne if you want. Coat it, be generous with the seasonings. Put it in the slow cooker on low, 6 hours, come back. It's nice and brown. That means that when it sets, it coagulates, and the coagulate is worth the wait. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, now one more time, say it with me. Pro tip, let it coagulate because it's worth the wait.